Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alyssa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And I hope this won't be a hater episode. I think
totally going to be a hater episode.
Today on the table is franchises that have overstayed their welcome. Do we have this is only a 1 hour show, Brandon.
Well, you know, I mean, we don't have to hit all of them.
Okay.
In fact, we can go ahead and challenge our audience to hit us up afterwards for any of the ones we may have left out.
Okay, I feel like this is going to be you almost have to pick and choose at this point. But you guys, before we do that though, I have a homework assignment for all of us.
Yeah.
I watched the Hulu documentary Bratz by Andrew McCarthy, all about the Brat Pack from the 80s.
Not the dolls.
No, Bratz with an S. But basically, I took a lot of lessons out of this. And, of course, you know me. I am unapologetic in my love for the 80s. Allie, I went to high school. I graduated in 84. It, in my opinion, is the funnest decade of the last century. But I took a lot of lessons out of this movie that I don't know that he intended us to take. But I want to get your guys' take when you get a chance to watch it. It's worth watching, but
I'm excited.
Go in with modest expectations. I mostly, anyway.
It's going to be a true Hollywood story from the point of view of the guy who wishes he was the most important person, but he'll never be Judd Nelson, and he'll never be John Cryer. He'll never be Rob Lowe. He'll always be the secondary guy in Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh gosh, okay, that's harsh. I mean, I'm not an Andrew McCarthy hater.
I'm an Andrew McCarthy fan, but I will tell you, he is mediocre at best.
All right, well there you go. So that's your assignment, you guys. Is I guess next week I hope we can have a conversation about Brad. So, but Brandon, I don't know who spearheaded this one, but franchises that have overstayed their welcome seems like a pretty rich topic, actually.
Well, me and Alan were looking at upcoming movies and everything else, and like TV shows, and how almost every horror film that has overstayed its welcome in theaters now has a television show that's in production. And we started talking about, there are certain franchises that they are going to milk us dry, but they haven't been good in years.
Yeah. Or have they done
Jason the musical yet?
No, because a musical is the last retort. You got to go through so many other things, and they just had a big lawsuit, so they're just trying to gear up to get a movie done again.
Well, why do we have so many? Okay, for one thing, I'm just going to say this. Allie, another reason I love the 80s? I don't remember nearly as many franchises. You might have had Indiana Jones, Star Wars, no. I remember a lot of individual one-off movies, and I didn't need a Breakfast Club universe.
This was the birth of all of these franchises back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I was like, that's why they all started.
There's a reason why, they just did a 14-hour documentary on horror movies that have 1,000 sequels, and all of them started in the 80s.
Okay, but it was different. It was we had Ghostbusters, then there was a sequel. It wasn't, okay, this is the Ghostbusters universe.
No.
It was different.
That's not, see, Joe, you're thinking of franchise in what Marvel does or what Star Wars is trying to do.
Right.
Or any of that. Franchise just means you have an IP that works, and then we put sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. There's a reason why you get to a point where, why am I getting an 11th Fast and the Furious? Oh, because, Friday the 13th, which started back in 1980, is on its 13th film, and we got to catch up.
Okay. All right. But like I said, anyway.
And here's the thing. I'm a fan of all of these, but it's that point where you've retread the same story so many times, and then if you don't have a new idea for a sequel, you just go, well, we can do a soft reboot. Do you know how many different lores run through the Nightmare on Elm Street movies? Like 8. And there's not even that many movies.
So, okay. Well, so are we saying a franchise is different than
a franchise is an IP that has grown past the point of a trilogy?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put, like the Lord of the... Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, Lord of the Rings was a trilogy. The original Star Wars was a trilogy. So we wouldn't call that a franchise, I suppose.
Oh, I mean, you'd still call those franchises, but when a franchise ends on 3 and doesn't come back for a spinoff, or anything like that, or gives you 20 years between each trilogy, then you have a story that can be easily managed, watched on a Saturday if you wanted to run through the whole thing, and you don't have someone constantly hitting you with the next thing going, no, but you like that, you're going to have this. Whether it be merch, TV, whatever.
Okay.
Hey, Alan.
All right, let's go back to the 60s. Let's pick on Romeo and Juliet.
I don't want to.
I know, but we're going to.
The book?
Because we've all seen that one.
Or the play?
Well, the book, the movie, the play, the this, the that, the other.
That movie that every one of us who studied Romeo and Juliet in school had to watch, and it made no sense.
Right.
I don't remember that one.
However,
okay.
it is a product. It is an IP that every 10 years, the next generation of thespians want to cut their chops on it.
Yeah.
Well, I saw what Olivia Hussey did as Juliet. I want a shot at it.
Right.
And it's one of those that gets redone, refreshed, or just reacted every, 5-7 years, we get some variation of something Shakespeare.
Right, and so many times you don't realize you're actually watching a Shakespearean play again until you're in there because the trailer, no title that relates to Shakespeare, and all of a sudden you go, wait, how am I in A Midsummer Night's Dream? This was supposed to be a Hugh Grant story.
And it is.
And it is.
But it's Hugh Grant really wanted to take a shot at
A Midsummer Night's Dream.
But everybody brings something, if nothing else, a new face to a familiar story. Now,
which is why you never hear anybody go, I'm so sick and tired of Romeo and Juliet.
Or Hamlet.
Yeah.
Or Midnight.
Maybe we don't care enough, though, honestly. The only one I liked was the Leonardo DiCaprio one.
The thing is, it's like they
okay, but it was a different version, wasn't it?
I'll go with a better description. They know how to put lipstick on a pig.
That they do.
Ooh, those are fighting words for Max. Are you belittling Shakespeare?
No. But people know how to dress it up enough with new versions of it that it continues to never get tired.
Oh, okay.
And not only that, but I like the idea of even modernizing certain things. Like I saw a production where it was Othello, but with modern military uniforms, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can dress it up to be the same story, but with a whole new take on it, even if it's just modernization, you can keep a franchise alive.
So at least you do not quarrel, sir.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Somehow we get taken back to Shakespeare, but we're going to continue the conversation. Franchises that have overstayed their welcome.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. They put on their Stormtrooper armor one leg at a time, just like the rest of us. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alyssa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And we're talking today, among other things, about franchises that have overstayed their welcome. I feel like recently we've had a lot of, we're talking about negative things, but I don't know. I mean, we're talking about the downfall of cinema, the downfall of the movie institution. But so let's just keep it going. But Allie, what's a franchise that you think has overstayed its welcome?
I know that this is crazy coming from me, Star Wars' biggest fan. But I would say Star Wars. It's too much. I would have been happy with just the first 6, to be honest. I could have lived my whole life with just those 6 movies and been like, yep, that's enough Star Wars for me.
Here's the point where I have to argue with you.
And there's plenty of stuff that's come out since then that I also love with all my heart.
Right.
But
But this is where I have to disagree with you because
and other people's interpretations.
The Rebels. If I would have felt the same way with you after Revenge of the Sith, and I don't care about Clone Wars, not the little shorts that Gendy Tartakovsky did, not the Dave Filoni stuff, nothing. But then I got Rebels, and I can't imagine being a Star Wars fan now without Rebels lore. And I was very hestant to watch it. I was like, I don't want to watch this. This kid annoys me. I don't like canon. Oh well, okay. I like Chopper. He's about the only one I like. Okay, Zeb's pretty cool. And then I was stuck in it, and I had to watch every bit of it. And I blame Joe because Joe's the one who recommended Rebels to me.
But I thought Max. I liked Rebels and Clone Wars. I think they're both outstanding.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's how you got me though. It's like I can't even imagine it without the Rebels storyline now.
I would say for Star Wars, I'm kind of on the middle line. It's like I could understand the argument can be made, the idea of like, all right, I'm a Star Wars, it's overstayed its welcome, but I also think it hasn't explored its full potential just yet. You literally have a galaxy far, far away, but we haven't even got to any Old Republic's work or like any animated stuff like that, or even beyond, like in the future, like post Skywalker saga. We just
Yeah.
seem to be operating in a very limited amount of space and time.
Allie, I'm curious though, because when you say, okay, you said you're overwhelmed with too many choices, or is
Yeah,
it
it's
what?
just I feel like I can never catch up anymore. Like I'm so behind on all the shows, and there's just so many, and I only have so much time in my day to like watch things. I have to prioritize what I care about, and like sometimes it's not Star Wars, sometimes it's a different new show that I would rather watch.
The only thing I would say about this, though, I feel like if I had to defend Star Wars, is I don't think you have to watch any. I mean, you watch what you want. You pretty much know the history of Star Wars, especially if you watch the original trilogy and all that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you don't. It's not as interconnected as like the Marvel universe, where those 22 films, if you missed one, you missed part of the saga. So I don't know.
That's fair.
But anyway,
Well, and the other thing that happens in a lot of these major franchises is they're all universe ending.
I'm tired of that scenario.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
everybody, all universally goes,
Right.
can we stop killing the universe?
But-
Can we just have an adventure?
But that's just as big a problem now, though, is because Marvel will try and give you something that wasn't universe ending, and nobody goes and sees Shang-Chi. Nobody cared about
I kind of like that movie. Why did people hate that
I love
movie?
that movie, but
That was fun.
it was in that beginning turn of the profit drop.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you could only build up so much to Endgame,
Yeah.
and then what would have been smart was take 2 years off without any Marvel content.
right,
Period.
right. They
Exactly.
suffered their own fatigue.
Right.
And all right, you guys, you wore us out. We're
Yeah.
tired. We want to sit down.
Yeah.
And we're so frustrated with you. We don't care that Blade is cursed.
Well, all right, let's bring up Blade, the movie that saved Marvel.
Years and years and
A
decades ago.
billion years ago, when Wesley Snipes went, I know a lot of kung fu and I like wearing black, and looked good doing it.
Yeah.
And they made 3 movies of various quantity, but they did give us pre-Deadpool.
Right.
Because Ryan Reynolds was just trying out everything you've ever seen in Deadpool in that movie.
And as Hannibal King, who is not a humorous character at all, he basically played Wade Wilson.
He was, I'm sorry, it was just Ryan. He was loose.
He was doing what I refer to as the Nick Cage School of Acting,
Yeah.
where you just play you with that job.
Yeah.
That's what I've always thought of Ryan Reynolds. I never even think
Yeah.
of him. I mean, does he even change his haircut?
No.
I mean,
No.
the guy looks the same in every movie. So,
But
yeah.
but there's some really weird drama type films where he is serious. You don't expect it. It's weird, but
You keep waiting on him to go crack any
Right.
second. Yeah. You can't enjoy the drama.
right.
So, all right. So here comes poor Blade. They put the movies out. You know what? I put them, Fifth Element, and several other movies all together in the, if a certain scene is on television, when you flip by it, you will stop and watch.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like, oh, big fight scene. Everybody's going to blow up. All right, we're going to watch it. And heavens to Betsy, they've been in pre-production on this movie. I'm already tired of the movie, and they haven't even made it yet.
Yeah, they've lost
it
the director
literally-
multiple times. They've had to, had to
It's
redo the
like, just
script.
give up. Stop. Just play the original. Put it on a Phantom event. I'll go give you $2.
Now, Alan, we're supposed to be hating things today on this episode. We're talking about franchises that have overstayed
Right,
their welcome.
and-
Blade
but Mark-
hasn't.
and-
But
no, no,
Blade
no.
won't go
But
away,
Blade-
and they won't make it.
But Blade,
Okay.
which was the trilogy of Blade and the TV show that we got out of that, that in and of itself already makes me not care enough to want to go see a Blade movie, and it's part of the Marvel franchise, which is now at that point where I don't want to see it for that reason.
Interesting.
I know we're getting close to break and everything, but I want to present a question to the panel and everything.
Okay.
What would you say is the difference between a franchise or a show that overstays its welcome and a show or franchise that takes a while for the story to evolve? Let's just say, for example, there's this manga series, this anime series that I really like called Berserk, and it's been in production for years and years and years. But the thing is like, we're all waiting for that grand finale and everything, and the plot continues to be interesting even after all this time. What would you say is the difference between that sort of stuff?
Okay, the great thing about, especially, and this is one of those times when anime just takes the lead in general, is that if you're watching an anime that is based on a manga, you have plenty of source material to draw from. And until that story gets to the point where it's just retreading and tiresome, that makes it lovable.
Okay. All right.
Give me all the Trigun you can find.
Boom.
Ooh.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Oh, we are back. Okay. Weird, Max. Anyway,
That's
it's
how
anime.
my back feels.
yeah. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alyssa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, on the top, on the table right now is a conversation we're having about franchises that have overstayed their welcome. And Max, before the break, introduced kind of a different twist on the conversation, which is basically, to me, it sounds like, Max, sometimes franchises take too long to unfold. And I mean, I will say I'm a huge fan of Attack on Titan.
Oh.
They took forever to get that anime done. It was worth the wait, but oh my God. I if you were one of those people that were waiting year after year for it to come out, it's a different experience than somebody that might have just discovered it now and can binge watch it and everything. But I still think that's a different conversation than franchises that overstayed their welcome. But who knows? Maybe there's just a pacing that needs to happen to make stories effective, I guess. So
Okay, I've got a perfect example of a franchise that is taking too long to unravel.
okay.
Not only because of production or everything else like that, but when we all watched that first season of Stranger Things, we wanted to know the
Boom!
truth. We know it's like
These
and
guys
yes,
are like 25 years old now.
and yes, you know, each season gives us a little bit of a fun thing that you can go, yeah, I love that. But then it's so much filler. It's so much.
I don't even
just-
care anymore.
I don't even care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you could literally open the next season of Stranger Things, kill off everybody, and say, yep, that's 30 minutes in the can. You guys have a good day, and I would be fine with it.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is a
big
good
agree.
example. Yeah.
Big agree.
Well, in a case like Attack on Titan, to be perfectly honest, you could cut 50% of the content and have the same show.
They could have. It got a little convoluted.
It
at
just
certain-
kinda
But
went,
it was
all right.
good. I love it.
It
but,
was, but to be perfectly honest, it was like, all right, how many loopholes can we put into this?
yeah. Right.
And, it took too long.
There's actually there's actually sort of an interesting exception when it comes to a story that's been around for a while, but at the same time could still hold its own weight, is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because every time there's a new season, it's literally the same basic idea, the same basic Joestar family, but at the same time, you're presented with like a new, fresh perspective. Like, all right, let's go to Florida, let's go to Italy.
Well, I'll give you a live action version, which is not quite the same thing. But did you guys watch Miracle Workers?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Multiple seasons.
Yes.
Each season, they like completely. It's almost the same plot, but it's different settings.
Well-
And it's the same actors. Daniel Radcliffe, first of all, was amazing in that.
It's so funny.
And of course, this is going to lead me into what would basically be considered an attack on Joe.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a franchise that has overstayed its welcome?
Woof.
Harry Potter.
Well, what are they doing
Massive.
anymore?
All right.
I mean, they're not
Right
doing
now,
anything.
They
They
got
could-
a whole
they've-
show
there-
coming out
there's
on
a new-
HBO. There's
HBO
new
Max
games.
is doing a whole thing where they have done a contest for people to send in their story idea on how their take on Harry Potter would be, and they're going to do a season per book, and they're just going to drag it out.
Is it fan fiction?
No. They
It's
want
just
this from
retelling
production
the
studios.
stories.
They want production studios to basically pitch them so they can choose you to be the one who does the new series.
Wait, it's gonna be animated, right?
No, it's live action.
Oh, see that if it was animated, I'd be behind that. But I think
Well,
that's
me
the
and you-
only right way to do Harry
me and
Potter
you
would
t-
be animated.
Me and you talked
personally.
about that on a Geek
years
Tank
ago.
Radio.
That was like 10 years ago.
Like
yeah.
back in the beginning when we
Right.
first started off, and we talked about how the best way to do Harry Potter, where you could get all the important parts of it, was to do it animated, because
And I would even dare say let an anime company, let a Japanese anime company write it. They know how to
Dude.
get at the heart of emotions and stuff. I'd let them do that in a heartbeat, man. But-
dude, I'll watch it on Crunchyroll. That's fine.
Okay. Anyway.
Gilby Studios, we've called you out.
Ghibli Potter.
Yeah, come on.
But
All right, so we've got these things, and I mean, how many big, flexy, sweaty car blow-ups can we have?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We've talked about how many Fast and the Furious movies there are. I'll be in theaters opening day of every single one of them, but even I'm going, how many times can Vin Diesel use his Charger and just barely escape? without dying.
For family.
You're part
For
of the
family.
problem then, Brandon. Why don't you just vote with your wallet and make them give you something else?
Because in this day and age, it doesn't matter. Because stuff that basically bombs at the box office is still getting sequels. Because studios go all in on everything. Horizon, which is the new Kevin Costner Western, is going to be 4 parts. It is in 4 parts, and the first one has already been annihilated by critics, focus groups, and studios.
I laughed out loud when I saw the trailer for that because I thought it was a joke.
Really?
Wow.
It looks
You thought it was
ridiculous.
parody?
And
then it was 4 I was like, 4? You're making 4 and you haven't even put this one out?
And this is what he quit Yellowstone to do. Guaranteed money. I'm going to quit that to do my give the world my vision. Maybe Kevin Costner has overstayed his welcome.
It looks
Gosh.
laughably bad. Laughably bad.
My
Okay.
question is with regards to shows and stuff that is overstayed that's welcome, wouldn't you say that this sort of like suppresses the possibility of creativity for just like really good one-off productions? Like, shouldn't companies, rather than focusing on trying to like put in like a sequel or whatever of something for plot spackle or for just like entertainment spackle, shouldn't they focus on making like actually like original stories?
Well, you're a purist, Max.
I
agree. But,
I completely agree with you, Max. And I will go ahead and give you a couple of examples that have just hit because of CBS overextending their scheduling. There's a show. It was in its 2nd season. It's called So Help Me Todd. And it's about a kid who's an investigator who goes to work for his mom, who's a lawyer. This show is great. This show had good ratings. This show just got canceled so that they could one up and get one more season of SWAT after telling us this was the last season of SWAT.
Okay.
And, I'm just sitting there going, why?
And, what's funny was So Help Me Todd, the first 2 episodes were terrible.
They are.
Just
but
be perfectly
but
honest.
that-
If you're listening to us and you go look it up,
Yeah.
episode 1 and 2 have all the chemistry of basically dead fish.
It feels like you're watching a high school production of a TV
3,
show.
you can tell there was a drinking party or something
Where they got
and
everybody
it
together
got
and-
everybody together, and they all started enjoying the show.
Yeah.
And the show developed chemistry and started going good.
Yes.
It's kind of like they got to know another one, Elspeth.
Yes.
That's really kind of chunky, the first 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And
But
then
then
you
they
can
get their
tell
stride.
everybody bought in.
Yeah.
So, they'll get a season, maybe.
All right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alyssa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, the main topic on the table, which I figured we'd get a lot of mileage on, and we get this much mileage, but is franchises that have overstayed their welcome. And I wanted to say something because it seems like it's been coming up more and more. Max brought this up, but Alan even brought this up last week about the popularity of anime and how it's becoming really much more mainstream here in America, and how many good lessons we can learn from anime. And it's, we were talking about things like Death Note or Attack on Titan. One thing I will say for them is I'm not seeing them out there creating the Attack on Titan universe or the Death Note universe. They basically came up with a really interesting story. Now, it took a long time to unfold, but it's done, and now they've moved on to something else. I like that. I personally would prefer that in all movies. I mean, we don't need an entire universe or franchise.
I completely agree. I like the idea of a finite story.
Yeah.
I don't need 23 seasons of a yellow family in Springwood making the same jokes that they were making in season 1.
Well, and on that note, I had a question for the panel, because we've seen this, and I know you brought up Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Okay. When you start adding, now I love the books. I especially love the audiobooks. The
Right.
movies I'm not really a fan of, but
Which
I'm a
recording of-
diehard fan of.
I'm going to ask just for the audience, which recording of the audiobooks do you prefer?
The Jim Dale.
Okay.
I know there's some that prefer the other. I don't even know but Jim Dale is the best in my opinion. But here's my question. Okay, then they added a play. I don't even remember what the name of that play
The
is.
Cursed Child.
The Cursed Child. They added all these things, and in my opinion, when you start adding to something, at some point it sort of starts to erode what came before. Because, like I said, if you start really analyzing Harry Potter, as much as I'm a fan, there are a ton of plot holes in that book. There are a ton of, and the more you start picking at it by adding new things, I feel like it's like almost reverse engineering and undercut. I've seen that in Marvel. I've seen that all over the place, but that's a danger too.
Well, yeah, Star Wars is doing it right now with the Acolyte.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. But when it comes down to it, they are adding lore that people don't understand because they just did that whole new High Republic line of books and everything. And you're finding out the twins. Sorry if I'm spoiling anything for anybody who might be watching the Acolyte.
Yeah.
You find out that they were in the latest episode. You found out that they were being raised basically by the Night Sisters.
Is that the Night Sisters?
They are witches.
Yeah.
They are a coven. They are basically in exile. These children were brought into existence through use of and manipulation of the Force.
And we thought Anakin was the only one that ever brought about that way.
But the thing is everybody's like, oh, no, they're trying to do this. They're trying to take away from this. And it's not that this show is trying to take away from, Anakin's, birth. This is something that is established in, from what I understand, is established in the High Republic stuff. There's also a lot of stuff about the arrogance and eventual downfall of the Jedi Council, which we saw, we didn't see the downfall until the prequels. But we know that one of the reasons why Yoda was blinded to what was coming was because the Jedi had become arrogant. They thought they were the end-all, be-all. They knew what was best for everyone. And it's kind of like when, very much like when politicians decide, we know better than the people. But I don't want to get into that kind of discussion. But the Acolyte is adding stuff in that has never been a part of Star Wars lore. And the High Republic books did the same thing. And it makes some of the things that we've come to rely on as part of it.
It starts to undercut, but then it erodes at everything. Right. So,
but the question arises too. This is relevant to what you were just saying, Brandon. What's the difference between undercutting certain plot elements in canon like that versus an artist or a writer revisiting their work after they've had time to mature? I go back to the example of Trigun Stampede.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, because Trigun's great.
Well, here's the thing: is that sometimes you'll see that evolve in the work itself, in the source material. You saw Trigun evolve during the manga, but when they started the show, they wanted to make something that was nice, light, captured the the true spirit of Ash the Stampede without necessarily giving you what's for. Yoshihiro Naito has looked at his stuff and gone, what would have been a better idea? And he's going in and he's telling you the same story, but he's telling it to you from a different perspective with different elements, and it has led to as much as I wanted to give this series grief after the first couple episodes, it's so much better for a backstory that could literally be the prequel to the $60 billion Double Dollar Man.
And not only that too, but there's also series even long after the creator is gone, like Osamu Tezuka, he created this series called Dororo. And back in the day when he had it animated, it was a little bit kiddish, but Tezuka was always a man who wanted to do plot elements that were more mature. And so they redid it and more to the artistic vision and style that he would have desired.
Yeah.
But he had the constraints that he had back in the day.
Right.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you could go back and look at The Hobbit versus the rest of the Lord of the Rings.
Talking about the animated one and
I'm talking about Tolkien on paper.
Okay.
The Hobbit is a children's book. It
Complete
reads
with
like
songs.
a children's book. It looks like a children's book. It acts like a children's book. It tells a nice story. But, the Battle of Five Armies is a chapter.
Yeah, it wasn't a trilogy.
I mean, it was... Now, if you filled in all the blanks he left in there, you probably had 8 books worth of stuff. But then he turned around and did the larger volume, and then then he kept filling in the mythos, and you got the Silmarillion and all that kind of stuff. I am more of the opinion, you can't go back home again. You did the work, move on.
Right.
You did the
I think
work,
in general it's a good
move
rule
on.
for Hollywood. I wish they'd do that, but maybe
well,
that's
I mean,
why
if
they're
you're going to
becoming
build
less
the
relevant.
universe,
So-
build the universe. But understand the universe movie is a setup.
And it happened at a place and time, and the zeitgeist was this and whatever, and
Right.
you just can't recreate that sometimes.
Yeah.
So you just gotta
Sometimes
let it
lightning
go.
strikes.
Yeah, yep. Lord of the Rings is a perfect example. I mean, that trilogy played out perfectly. It's universally loved, but I don't know that you can resurrect that beast.
Is it
so.
though?
Anyway, well, you can't resurrect the clock. It's ticking away, and it's time to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
I'm Alyssa Diggs.
And I am Brandon Olmstead, wishing that we were anime so we didn't overstay our welcome.